Okay, good to Vach. It's I'm gonna make the Daf Yomi video for today very quickly. Please don't do that. Don't make a chametz stick. I lost my baba today, so the learning should be little nishmas. My baba Esther Rochel Bas Reb Shlomo Kohen. Really, all the Torah I have was only because of her, and then also it's the yard site tonight of my holy ancestor Reb Moshe Aryeh Krula. Reb Moshe Aryeh ben Reb Meir Yehuda Leib Ostreicher was the Rav in Krula, the second Krula Rav. It's interesting, he was nifter in 1820, and it was the same English date and Hebrew date this year. Yud Adar, and also February 25th. So Moshe Aryeh Krula, it's Motzei Shabbos, he needed to tell stories, and especially Berditchev Rav is a big Indian to mention. Berditchev Rav. So Berditchev Rav actually once went to Krula, and he wanted to go meet my Zayda, the Krula Rav. And Krula Rav, he didn't know what Chassidus was all about. Maybe he did know, I don't know. And he was afraid if he met Berditchev Rav, that Berditchev Rav would be like a magnet to draw him to the Chassidic movement. And so he jumped out the window and avoided seeing Berditchev Rav. But the Rebbetzin, Baba, she said he should take in Berditchev Rav. He should give a bracha to all the children. So I guess one of my Babas was the Rebbetzin to Reb Moshe Spitz, was the Adam of the Krula Rav. He was the Rav in Chenger. So Mistama, she also had the bracha from Berditchev Rav, and Kedushas Levi. That's why I always had a warm spot for the Kedushas Levi. I was there once in Berditchev when I was a chosin, and then he said, "Einer von sei geht werden von Inzera." He said, one of these children is going to be ours. And it was the Vetter, Yonis ben Yomi, was the Chenger Rebbe, and he was a Berditchev Chassid. And so that was the prophecy of the Berditchev Rav there. And then the Zayda Krula Rav also went, and finally he did also meet with Berditchev Rav. So let's quickly do the daf. We said the Taras she'ena trufa, Taras that's not minced. Tanar Rabbanan Ezahi Taras she'ena trufa kol sheroish v'shidra nikar. The point where it's not minced is where the head and the spine are discernible. Ve'ezet tzir sheyesh b'daga. Excuse me, this is what's kosher, which brine has a fish in it, called shekibas achas or shtei kilbios, shetatis boy, and that's where our daf begins. With that lashon shotan al amayim, that these little fish are swimming in the brine. So hash the kilbas achas and rashori shtei kilbios mebaya. So, if one kilbas fish is enough to make it kosher, why do you need two? Why do you say one or two? What's the nafkamina? Like kasher kam b'suchas kam b'stumas. So he said if it's an open barrel, you need two fish because it's possible one could fall in. But if it's a closed barrel, one is enough to prove that it's kosher. Itmar, weiter. Itmar Rav Huna Amar Ad Shetei Rosh V'Shidra Nikar. Nachman Amar Ay Rosh Shidra. So Rav Huna says that the minced fish is only kosher if you see both the spine and the head. Rav Nachman said one is enough, a spine or a head. Masiv Rav Ukva Bar Chama, Dagim Sheyesh Lo Snaper V'Keskeses. So Rav Ukva Bar Chama said that any fish that has fins and scales is kosher. So if a head or a spine is a definitive sign of a kosher fish, why isn't those mentioned? You need fins and scales, not a spine. There are vertebrate fish that are not kosher. So a fish head, a fish spine doesn't prove that it's kosher. So Mabaya Kitanya Hiba Arba Fum Falmuda, the Damu Reishayel Tmeim. So he said the Mishnah is dealing with types of fish like Ara and the Falmuda. Those heads look like non-kosher fish heads. So that doesn't prove that it's kosher when you see the head or the spine without the scales. But the other types of fish, you can recognize the heads. Some of Yehuda Mishmeida Ula Machlekes L'Tabel B'Sirin Aval B'Gufan T'Vei Kol Aser Sh'Yehei Rosh V'Shidra Nicker. So Yehuda said the name of Ula that there's a machlokes about dipping in the brine, whether it's kosher or not. But to eat the fish, everyone agrees. Excuse me, that's not kosher until you see the head and the spine. If you can't see the scales, it's a type that you can recognize with the head and the spine. So Amar Rebbe Zarah, Meishavim at Belna B'Tzirin, Kivna Shmayel Ahad Amar Yehuda Mishlemeid Me'ulam Achlekas L'Tabel B'Tzirin, Abu Guf and Divrei Akol Aser, Ad Shi Yehei Rosh V'Shidra Nikra, B'Tzirin Nami Lemat Belna. So Rebbe Zarah said he used to be lenient and dip bread and stuff into the brine because it was but regarding eating the fish, everyone agrees it's forbidden until you see the head and the spine. So he said he's going to be machmir and not even dip in the brine. Some of Papa Hilchsa Sheirosh Shidra Niku Shel Kol Achas V'Achas. So if Papa said that this minced fish, it's not kosher until you can see the head and the spine of each and every one of the fish that's discernible. So Meisvei, so they asked, Chsicha Sheyesh Ben Simon, talking about minced fish. Remember Rabbi Fishbain Zalgazunsan, he always tells a story about someone in a shul when he was the rabbi in Temple Bethel, that he wanted to bring a chopped herring dish, and the rule in the shul is you can't bring anything from outside, you can't bring anything from home, because how do you know it's kosher or not? But someone brought it in, they insisted to serve it. So he asked for the recipe, he managed to copy it perfectly. He had a non-Jew tasting to make sure that they both tasted the same. He went through this whole, so then in the end, so then this guy, he's like, "Oh, I know all your tricks, Rabbi." He said, "What do you mean?" He thought he got caught, whatever. He said, "You wanted to know why did you want to know the recipe? You want to make sure it was kosher." But the thing is, it was more than the recipe to make it kosher. So we see this from here in the Gemara. So Meis v'chsicha sheish ben Simon bein bechulan bein b'mutzasan v'afilu echad memeya shebehen kol mataris. So if you have a piece of fish that still has this scales on it, that's a sign that it's kosher. Whereas one of them, all of them, even 1 out of 100, they're all kosher. Excuse me, I'm not really feeling well today. Shehevi garav shel chasichis nimtza simen b'achas mehen v'hitarem nishmin galil. It's a garav kulai. So a non-Jew brought a barrel of fish pieces, and one piece had scales on it. So Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said the whole barrel is kosher. So Tikkun Papa with Chesichas Shabbos. So Rav Papa said that only means where it's clear they're all coming from the same type of fish. So why do you even have to say that? So Mao the same in Eichut Shtil Moas Rame Kamash Malan. Said no, because they might have brought, even they look similar and brought from different fish. So the Brisa says no, as long as you can see one piece has skin on it, it's good enough. Arvid Chanta the Asil Sichra, Afak Rav Huna Bar Chinana, V'Chaza Bei Kalfei V'Sharye. So there was a boatload of Tzachanta fish came to the port at Sichra. Huna Bar Chinana went to the boat and he found scales and he said it's kosher. The whole boatload. Amar Lei Rava. So Rava said to him, Ma'ikol Sharki Hai Gavna Ba'asra Deshchiche Kalfei Nafak Shipure Rav Vasar Shipure the Rav Huna Bar Chinana V'Shari. So he said, well, how do you know that all the fish were kosher just because you found scales on some of them? So maybe Rava's people announced it's not kosher, but Rav Huna Bar Chinana people went out and announced it was kosher. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm trying my best. Rav Yomi of Difta Ladidi Amali Rav Papi Kishar of Huna Bar Chinana Siran of Magufan Loi. So Rav Yomi of Difti said that Rav Papi told me Rav Huna Bar Chinana said it's kosher. He sold only to dip in the brine, but not the fish themselves. Only the fish that actually have the scales on them are kosher. So he wasn't being overly permissive. So Amar Rav Ashi said, excuse me, L'didi Amar Li Rav Papa told me, Kishara Rav Huna Bar Chinana filled begufan with nanaloi meimel esrina, Kama Li Rav Papa v'li Mishra Sharina, Dama Li Rav Yehuda Mishmeda Ula Machlekes L'Tavul Tzirin, begufan Divrei Kol Ad Shiyeh Hebrew Shidra Nikro Shal Kol Echad Ve'echad. He said that no. Rav Ashi said that Rav Papa told him that Rav Huna Bar Chinana said that the fish are also kosher, and I also don't say it's not kosher, because Rav Papa told him that the fish were kosher, but I also don't say it is kosher, because Rav Yehuda said the name of Ula. There's a machlokus, it's a dispute about dipping in the brine. The fish themselves, you have to be able to recognize each and every fish. So I'm not saying it is kosher, I'm not saying it's not kosher. So Yosef, Rav Chinana Bar Edi Kameda Rav Ada Bar Hava. So Rav Chinana Bar Edi was sitting in front of Rav Ada Bar Hava. Yosef Kamar, and he was saying, Akum Shehevi Reva Malaya Chavias, Nimseis Kilbus Vachs, Ren Pesuchis, Kulun Mataris, Sumas Himataris, Kulun Asuris. So Fchina Bar Edi was sitting in front of Ada Bar Hava. He was saying, if a pagan brought a small boat filled with barrels of brine, and he finds a kilbus fish in one of them, if the barrels are open, they're all kosher. If the barrels are closed, hold on. What happened to my Gemara here? So, Weiter, I'm sorry. So, Stumas Hemateris Vukulisurus. So if they're open barrels, they're kosher. If they're closed barrels, the one that has the fish in it is kosher, but the rest are not. So the Rav Rav asked where do you get this idea from? So Matlas Akroy Shmieli Rav Shmuel Rabbi Yechanan. He said, I heard it from three scriptures. Who are the three scriptures? Rav Shmuel and Rabbi Yechanan. What he means to say is that to hear it from three rabbis like them is the equivalent of reading it in scripture, or you could say that they're three Bible scholars. Let's see what Rashi says. I thought I could find this Rashi. Mitlasa Kroy here. He said there are three rabbis who are so great you can rely on them just like if you would read it right out of the Bible. So Bruna Marav, Kirve Dogim Baran Eine Kochen Elam in Mumcha. Bruna said the name of Rav that the fatty innards of fish and their eggs can only be bought from someone who has a good hechsher. Is clearly kosher, and they know that it's coming from a kosher place. So Ramalei Ula Rabbi Dustoy the Minbiri and Kamarav Kirvei Dogam Vubaran Enikachanam Mumcha Miklal Dag Tami Islay Uber or many Dagtav Mashritz Dagtar Matil Metal Beitzim. So he said Ula said the name of Dustoy Biri. Where did Rav get the idea that the fatty innards of fish and their caviar can only be bought from an expert? That would mean that you can have caviar from non-kosher fish, but he says that non-kosher fish give birth to live young, and kosher fish make eggs. Ubaran. So he said no. So then all caviar should be kosher. What? What?
Please give Yomi the remote before he takes this one.
That one doesn't work there. Where's his remote? Yeah, so tell him that one doesn't work in his room.
I told him and he said no.
His remote is there. No, his remote is there in my room. So Amar Le Rabbi Zera Le Tisame Tarvayim Tile Beitzim Ninhu Elazem Ashrutz Mivchutz Ashrutz Mivfnim. So Rabbi Zera says no. There are all fish make eggs. It's just the kosher fish bring forth the young from outside the body, and the non-kosher fish have the eggs inside the body. So you could have, meaning that the non-kosher fish carry the eggs around. So they asked, why do you need an expert? Just look at the eggs. You can figure out if they're kosher. There's a sign of eggs and sign of kosher fish. Simani dog and salkat daitach. So when the government is not because it's kisiv who will simani beitzim kach simani ubrei dogim. So fish, we know what are kosher because the Bible says fins and scales. So about fish eggs, caviar, what does it mean? It says the signs of fish eggs and the signs of bird eggs are the same. So what is that? So these are the sign of a kosher bird egg. If you have an egg that's like what we think of an egg shape, that it's narrow and the sides are round, one end is pointier and one end is a little wider, that's kosher. But if it's totally round, both ends are pointed, both ends are flat, tameya, that's not kosher. Chelban b'chutz, chelban b'fnim, tameya. Chelban b'chutz, chelban b'fnim, tar. The non-kosher eggs, they have the yellow on the outside and the white on the inside, and the kosher eggs have the white on the inside and the white on the outside and the yolk on the inside. And if the white and the yolk are mixed together within the egg already, so that's like a reptile egg. That's not kosher. Rava, he said that's where. What about when the caviar is dissolved? You can't see the shape of the eggs. So the Dustai, the Min Biri, the Amr Samu Kanabaran. So Dustai from Biri said that no, non-kosher fish don't have eggs. So let's go weiter. So the Sanya, we have a brisa that says Ksmane Beitzim Kachsmane Dogim. The bird's eggs and caviar have the same signs. So that shows that there is non-kosher caviar. So he said no, means this, the insides of the fish that are flat and pointed, the air bladder, that's what it means. That is like the kosher fish have an air bladder the same shape as a kosher bird's egg. So so what if you have no expert? What do? How do you figure out if the caviar is kosher or not? So Rav Yehuda came in the Amar and Malachtim Tarin. So if you buy it from a Jewish fishmonger, he said, I salted the fish and I took out these eggs, I know it's kosher, or the innards of the fish, so then it's kosher. Nachman says, no, you have to actually show the fish and say these are the innards of this fish. Earlier of Yehuda Lada Dayala Cave and Amar and Imlachtim Mutaran. Yehuda said that there was a caterer named Ada. He says if he says he salted them, they're kosher. You trust him. Dayala sounds almost like deli, but it's not connected. It's a delicatessen. It's more of a Yiddish word, not a Aramaic word, but maybe there's some connection, I don't know. V'aloshel chiltis leaves, pshita. Why do you think the leaves are not kosher? This is where we're up to over here. Like nitzvachal kraten shabai. Ma'ad same neichush dom ma'isiv marabi. Mashmal on the hash teruke hivish teruke vas bahado a day. So you might think, remember we talked about the grains that cut with a non-kosher knife and you mix them with the leaves. So the Mishnah says no, the grains slipped off the leaf and they came with the leaf, so it's kosher. Soft olive cakes are kosher. Always. Mao the same chamara. Chamarama bahu kamash malan hani machmas mishcha rafu. So he said this is obvious. Why would the olives not be kosher? So he said even if they're very soft, so what So if the pagan puts wine in them, no, we say they became soft from the oil, not from wine. Right, weiter. Rabbi Yosi Emer Shalach and Asurin. Yosi said that if the pits are very loose and the olives are not kosher, Hechidam Shlachin. What does it mean Shlachin? The pits are very loose. So, and Rabbi Yosi Bar Chanina Kol Shachayze Biyadai Kurina said Nishmetis. Rabbi Yosi Bar Chanina says if you hold the olive in your hand and the pit slips out, that's already problematic. Alright, weiter. Chagavim haboim. Grasshoppers from the shopkeeper's basket. Unrabbanim. Rabbis taught like this: Chagavim, v'kafrisen, v'kaflutos, boin min ha'oiser min ha'heftek, min ha'sfina, mutarin. Grasshoppers, caperberry husks, and leeks. They come from a storage area or stockpile or from a boat. They're kosher. Mkarin b'kat loza l'fnei chenveni asurin mipnei shemazalaf yain alein. They're sold in the market in front of a storekeeper. They're not kosher because the storekeepers pour wine on them. Mechin yain tepuchin shel akam. Boin min oitzim min heftik min aslula matarin min nimkar b'kat loza asam min shemeravim b'yayin. So the apple cider from a pagan is kosher if it comes from a storage area or a stockpile or a shopkeeper's basket. But what's sold in the market is not kosher because they mix wine in it. Taner Rabbanan. That's what we're up to, Taner Rabbanan. The rabbi saw in the Brisa Pamachis Chash Rebbe b'Meyav Amaklum Yesh Adam Shiyadei Yen Tepuchim Shal Akam Osir Mutter. So Rebbe had a stomach ache, and he asked, does anyone know if apple cider from pagans is kosher or not? So in front of Rabbi Shmuel ben Rabbi Yosi, Pamachas Chash Abba Meyav V'Yuloi Yen Tepuchim Shal Akam Shal Shivim Shana V'Shasav V'Nisrapi. So Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yosi said that his father had a stomach ache, and they brought him 70-year-old apple cider from pagans, and he drank and he was cured. Amalei, Kokachaya B'Yodcha V'Atim Mitzareni. So Rabbi said to Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yosi, you knew this, and you let me have extra pain by not telling me the halacha. Bad Kamas V'Akum Echad, Shahaya Leish Leish Meis Garvi Yain Shal Tepuchin Shal Shivim Shan V'Shas Nisrapi, M'Baruch HaMakom Shemasar Lamal HaShomrim. So they found a pagan who had 300 barrels of 70-year-old apple cider. Rebbe drank it and he was cured, and he said, thank God that he gave his world over to Shomrim, to people who guard it, to keep it, to keepers, that he'd tell people to make to keep this apple cider for 70 years so people can be healed by it. The halacha also applies to Sruma. My Bechinus Sruma. So what halacha? Kamaris, what is the mission talking about? What halacha also applies to Truma? So, Amr Sheishis, Chen Lechain, Chash Limka Truma L'Shem Chulin L'Fan of Huda Aser. Avo Habamin or Eiser and Heftik from the Slula Mutter. Well, if you have a priest, a Kohen, they give him Truma, and the Kohen is allowed to sell Truma to other Kohanim. But we're worried that he's going to sell it and not tell people it's Truma and sell it to non-Kohanim, people who are not allowed to eat Truma. Truma is a portion that can only be eaten by a priest. It's smaller than a tithe. A small portion that's given as an offering to the priests, to the Kohanim. It's the fun of Huda Aser, Aval Abamin or Eitzim Neftik from the Slula Mutter. So it's only what he sells in front of him is not kosher, but if he brings it from a storage area, stockpile, or shopkeeping basket, it's kosher. Why? Meaning we know it's not Truma. There were two say Miratas, Savr Shemebe Rabbanan, Mafzu Late Minoi. Because he's afraid to lie about it, because he said the rabbi's are going to hear what's going on, and he's going to take it from me. They're going to confiscate it. Alright, I don't have the art scroll here in front of me. I could get up and get it, but I'm just going to read it. Kol Slamim Asurim. So Hadron Alachein Mamidim. We finished our chapter, and so now we have a new chapter called Slamim Asurim Neishahin. Called Slamim Asurim Neishahin. Evident Pamachas B'Shana Devar B'Meir V'Chamamoy Menina Asala. Kol Sheyesh B'Yadei Makel. Oitziper Kadur Rabban Shimon Gamliel Omer Av Kol Sheyesh B'Yadei Kol Davar. So he says any image you can't have benefit from, any statue, anything, because Rameir teaches that every pagan image, every idol, even is worshipped at least once a year. The sages say only if it has in its hand a sickle or a bird or a globe. And Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says any statue that has anything in its hand